Hey everybody, before I get started, I just want to mention a couple of ways that you can engage with me on a more personal level. I have a few avenues set up and I keep focusing on one, and I figured why don't I make a short little video talking about all of them real quick before we get into these episodes. So first thing, Patreon. There's a link in the episode description and every episode description to the Patreon, as well as a video on the feed called Major Announcement that has all the details of what each tier offers and how much they cost. I implore you to check that out. I offer a lot of cool shit for my patrons. Second thing, the Discord channel. There's also a Discord link in the episode description and in every episode description. I have multiple channels set up there for each show that I'm covering, and it's a great way to just engage with me. I have a channel set up for MMA talk as well. I'm a big MMA fan, so if you're an MMA fan, you can check that out as well. There's a link to the Discord in the episode description. And then lastly, the Facebook and Twitter. Social media. Follow me on there. I post news on there. When I say news, I mean like, hey, I'm stopping covering this show. Hey, I'm starting covering this show. Let me know what you think about this. I do live watches of things on Facebook where like I'll check in and say I'm watching so-and-so show, and then I'll like live comment while I'm watching it, and that'll be cool if maybe you watch that show too and you want to watch along with me, or you're watching it later and you will see my thoughts, which are usually pretty entertaining because I'm usually pretty high when I'm writing them. So check out all those links in each episode description, and let's talk about this episode. Peace.
One mic, one mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic. One mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic. One mic. One mic.
Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, and today I'm here to talk about Season 3, Episode 3 of FX's Dave, entitled Hearsay. So this title is based on the quote-unquote feud between Dave and Killer Mike that Dave thought was based on hearsay, but this also became the fuel for the hook of the song that Dave made with the guys who stole Rick Ross's chain. That's a hell of a sentence if you haven't seen this episode already. But man, I thought this was a really good episode, man. It was really fun. I got big Uncut Gems vibes from this. If you ever seen that movie, soon as Ross left without the chain, I'm like, oh my God, this is about to go left. I immediately got worried about how bad this was going to go, but following along on the adventure of getting the chain back was really fun. The episode was really funny. And they even managed to squeeze in a couple of nice heartfelt moments as well. So that's a lot of high quality television packed into 30 minutes of content. So not a lot to discuss here. This video probably won't be very long. Oh, also before I get started, I want to apologize for getting this one out a little bit later than normal. Dave should be one that I'm getting out like within the AM hours on Thursday. But I had to hit a funeral today and I completely fucking spaced on watching the episode. And I forgot to watch it until, I don't know, it was probably like 3 in the afternoon, 3, 4 in the afternoon. Normally, I would have either watched it last night or knocked it out like first thing in the morning. But yeah, like I said, I hit the funeral and that completely made me space on it. So sorry about getting this one out this late. Future episodes are probably going to be out either in the AM hours or close to like noon on Thursday. So anyway, the A plot of this episode revolves around the stealing of Rick Ross's chain. So the episode opens, the next stop on the tour is in Atlanta, and Dave, Gator, and this dude named Stretch, they hang out at a strip club with Rick Ross. And Rick Ross, he puts his chain on Dave. It's a $250,000 chain, a big giant R. He puts it on chain on Dave, like, yo, you got $250,000 around your neck. He invites him to this black brunch, which I'm just like, this is not, like, it's really hard to justify inviting a white person to a black brunch, because a black brunch is like the blackest fucking thing you could possibly go to. And Dave going to that, it just seemed like it wasn't going to work. But it ended up being a brunch with like really powerful people. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. And then Ross later leaves the strip club completely without having gotten his chain back. So Dave is stuck with it. So like I said, big Uncut Gems vibes at this moment. So after making a stop at a liquor store, they get robbed for the chain. Side note on this scene, the faces Dave was making while he was choking were hilarious. But then also, I liked how the dudes robbing him gave his license back. Like, yeah, I know how to DMVB. Like, that's wild. I like that. But Ross demands that they get the chain back. And while Dave panics, as usual, Gator comes through with the street knowledge and the hustle. And he gets everything moving in the direction it needs to be. So first, Gator recognizes the fur one of the guys is wearing in this video that they put up, like an IG live type video. And he's, they're just flaunting the chain and shit, calling Rick Ross out by name, all that kind of shit. and he recognizes one of the furs on this guy, and he takes it to his uncle, who I guess he sells stolen furs. I don't know. It looked like a warehouse or something. Like, I don't know. It felt very illegal. But the uncle either recognizes the fur, who he sold it to, or the person, or whatever. But whatever he recognized, he gives Gator a phone number. Gator calls the number and gets the guys who stole the chain to agree to exchange it for a Rick Ross verse. Now, at this point, the episode could theoretically be over. Gator already has a Rick Ross verse. He just needs clearance on it. And he's like, this is my Rick Ross verse. But like, if he wasn't, I don't want to say being stingy, but like if he wasn't being, I guess, stubborn about coming up out his own Rick Ross verse, he already had one on deck. Anyone else would have had to like try to petition Rick Ross for the verse. He got one, so he got something he already can trade for it. Like, oh, I already got that. I ain't got to do shit. So they get to the meetup, and Gator, forever the hustler, because they agreed to this deal, forever the hustler, he talks the guys out of the Rick Ross verse. And again, like I said, he can slide the Rick Ross verse at no cost to him. But he talks the guys out of the Rick Ross verse and talks them into taking a verse from Dave instead, even though they didn't even know who he was at first. Side note on that as well, there's a hilarious moment in this scene where they think that Dave is Jack Harlow. And then that's just that. I don't know if everybody's going to find that as funny, but that was extra funny to me because my homeboy Johnny told me one time that he felt like Jack Harlow was Lil Dicky with swag. And I thought that was so accurate and funny and true. So to hear them say that on the show was, one, hilarious, but it lets me know that, like, he ain't the only person that thinks like that. Like, apparently a lot of people, I mean, like, you get the curly hair and it's an easy one-to-one to make, but, like, the idea of Lil Dicky with swag being Jack Harlow, I just thought that was perfect. So when they confused him with Jack Harlow, I just thought, oh, man, like, real life. If y'all watch my Snowfall videos, I talk about in some of these episodes how it seems like they're fucking with me by mentioning things that I specifically complained about in season 5. And I like when I feel like the show is talking to me. And that, like, obviously that's not even something I said, but I thought that was really funny, really accurate description of Lil Dicky. But we're then treated to this great montage over some new Lil Dicky music, which, I mean, I'm not saying it's like a new song that's gonna come out, but like, I like when he raps on the show. Like, one, the raps are always good, they're always funny, but they're still dope. The music's always good. It's really like I like his vibe when he's rapping. It's like kind of it's like a weird corny swag. Like, I don't know, but it was cool to see it. I love that we finally got a music scene, which I feel like we need those more. Like, I understand it's not totally that kind of show. It's more of a show that's based on these characters and their relationships and all the funny fucking adventures they get into. And it's not necessarily about, hey, let's have this guy rap all the time. He's already famous. He don't need to necessarily use the TV show as a means to get on. But like, the scenes are just fucking good, man. Like, if we get 10 episodes a season, can I get some raps and maybe like 4? Like, I'll be cool with that. But anyway, during this montage of the music performing, we see Dave and Gator bonding with the guys who robbed them. Like, they're smoking weed together, they're goofing off, they're taking pictures. Like, everything is funny. And it was cool because even though it was like, oh, it's kind of heartwarming that two groups of people who should be ready to kill each other at this point are bonding over music and weed and just like shared interest in shit. And even though that was kind of heartwarming, it felt authentic too. Like, that kind of shit could really happen if you get people who are being authentic and don't feel like they got to play hard all the time. Like, you can get in a situation like that where it's supposed to be something kind of tense, but you could, like, you know, like I said, if they're real and they're honest, you can hit a situation like that where, like, look, man, we found out where you was. We had to make the move, but, you know, it is what it is. You give me the bras first, we cool. And then you smoke together. Once you start smoking together, it's like, fuck it. And so, like, I thought that felt kind of authentic too. And then at the end, Dave's like, we don't have to stop hanging out. like you really wanted to become like BFFs with the guys who robbed you, like, outside of the meet to get the chain back. But I thought that was really fun. So the whole crew goes to this brunch, and Gator realizes that Stretch set them up to be robbed, and he confronts him. Stretch admits it, you know, like he needed the money, tired of asking for money, which ties in with another scene in this episode that I'm going to talk about a little bit later. But Gator's basically like, we're done, it's over. And then he goes back to being over where Dave is at. And he's dejected, he's down. And Dave's like, well, Ross is here. Now's the time to make that move. get that verse clear. It's time to do your thing. But Gator's too down in the dumps about it. But in a great moment, to me, another heartwarming moment in this episode, which again, it amazes me how they could pack in like raps, wild adventures, hilarity, and heartfelt moments, like all in 30 minutes. That's why I love this show. But in another great moment, Dave gasses Gator up. And like on the surface, that might have felt like a regular hype up scene. Like you always have shows where they have somebody say something nice to them and they play Full House music in the background and shit. But I like that Dave prefaced it with, you do this for me all the time. Now I'm doing this for you. And it's true. Like throughout the show, Gator's been like a true hype man for Dave, both like on and off the stage. And it was dope to see Dave be that for him for once. I don't want to say for once because there's been moments, but like, Gator does it so much. And it's nice to see Dave show him that same love back. And I don't know about you guys, but if you follow my coverage of season 2, you know that I love moments where a guy like Gator is rewarded for all the stuff he does for other people. Like, he's so positive, he's so helpful, he's so good to other people. He's dealing with his own shit, his own personal shit that's heavy, and he still finds time to be like incredibly fucking supportive and put everybody else first. So when he gets these moments where he gets to shine and he gets a win, it always feels good. And that's what I like about this show, because a simple scene where he like hits it off with Rick Ross, like I said, it's not gonna hit as well as it hit in this moment, because we know Gator, we know what he's dealing with personally, we know what kind of guy he is, and you feel good for that to happen to a good person. So like I just thought that was really dope, and I love how this show manages to pull off these really good scenes like that, where you just kind of like, oh man, that's nice. Like I feel like that. That's what people like about Ted Lasso, and this ain't Ted Lasso obviously, but like, in this day and age where everybody's so at each other's throats and everything is so divisive, when you have a show where you can just like, have a moment where like, that was a nice thing that person did. It feels good. Like, because it's like so much shitty stuff everywhere. But anyway, moving on to the B plot real quick before I wrap up. There's a B plot here that revolves around this supposed beef with Killer Mike. Killer Mike quote tweeted a tweet from Dave where Dave's like, holla at your boy. And he quote tweeted it with the comment, I don't know about this man. And Dave didn't know how to interpret it. It's the hearsay thing that I mentioned when I talked about the title at the beginning. And then Dave later runs into Killer Mike at the Black Brunch, and he basically just said, the tweet was literal. Like, somebody tried to say something about you, and I'm like, I don't know who this guy is. Just not any kind of beef or nothing like that. Just like literal, like, I don't know who that is. Which Dave gets hit with a couple times in this episode, which is interesting because so far there's been a big vibe of like how famous he is. But then there's been moments where people are like, I don't know who you are, and I don't know about you guys, but have you noticed that everyone who knows who he is white, and everyone who doesn't is black? Just saying. I don't know if that's gonna come up as like a theme later. Like he doesn't have any, kind of like an Eminem thing. Like he just doesn't even have any real credibility in the black community. Like Eminem kind of had to work to get some of that, and he had to get it through just straight bars. Like maybe that's gonna be a theme that they do with Dave this year, where it's like he's not really, we get more moments of like white people knowing who he is, like old girl from the that tried to play him. What was that, last episode? Or, I don't know. 1 and 2 came out on the same day, but you know what I'm talking about. The girl who pretended like she didn't know who he was, but he was. Like, all those people know him and love him. And then he ends up with the robbers, and they're like, I don't know who the fuck this is. And then fucking Killer Mike didn't know who he was. So, yeah, I don't know. I just wonder if that's going to be a thing. And then Killer Mike kind of pressures Dave into donating $50,000 to a black bank, which is funny because earlier in the episode, David already refused to pay $50 to get the chain back, and he's like, I can't afford $50,000. And then like mishearing what Killer Mike said now is apparently cost him $50,000 if he lives up to that. I wouldn't be surprised if the next episode has like a brief story angle where he tries to get out of doing that. I wouldn't be surprised. And then tying back lastly before I get into my thoughts, the one thing that I mentioned about Gator's friend Stretch saying that he was broke and he needed money. He didn't want to ask Gator about it. There's a scene in this episode, one scene where we get the rest of the crew, Els, Mike, I forgot the girl's name. Shit. I hate when I know people's names and I forget them. But anyway, you know them. They're drinking, they're playing some word game or some shit. And Els admits to not having any money and feeling bad about asking them for money. Like, he owes the girl $600, he owes Mike $500. and he opens up about that, and Mike ends up getting him a haircut, getting him a lineup, because he said he hadn't had a lineup in 3 weeks. So I don't know why. I mean, we only got that one scene. I'm sure it's gonna mean something later on. They're gonna build on this. Like I said, it could not tie in necessarily, but be kind of like maybe like a 1-on-1 with Stretch. So maybe Els is gonna end up doing something that's kind of fucked up for money because he doesn't want to ask about it. I don't know. We'll see. And I'm gonna close out with just one thought, really. How about Usher in this episode, right? Like, you know what that reminded me of? It reminded me of when Wayne Brady was on Chappelle's show. Like, the shock of having Wayne Brady say, you know, is Wayne Brady have to choke a bitch, and all the kind of stuff that Wayne Brady was doing in that sketch. It kind of reminded me of that, because it was equally wild to hear Usher tell Dave that he might just have to whoop Killer Mike's ass. And then the thing where he's like, I can't remember what terminology he used, but the idea was like, if you ever heard somebody call me soft, you never heard him say it a second time. And then the face that he made when Dave asked him if he fights people, like, that was great stuff from Usher, man. That was dope. I love moments like that where you think you have an idea of who a person is. And that still may be who that person is, but he's an R&B singer, so you're automatically gonna have a certain kind of perception of him. And they get in front of a camera and be somebody entirely different than who you perceive them as. Like, I just think that's really good. Like, Usher might be a fucking gangster, I don't know, but he played up the perception like that of an R&B singer, like they might be soft. And I like how he played that up, and gave us that great little moment of Usher acting like a hard ass. So, like I said, great stuff, really fun episode. Like I said earlier, they packed a fuck ton of different types of entertainment into those 30 minutes, and that's just one of the many reasons I love this show. So that's all I got for this week. I will see you guys next week, significantly earlier in the day, for episode 4. And until then, peace.